Hi, this is video 2 of 2 on helping your teen manage anxiety. In video 1, I talked about the external factors that may be playing a role in how they're feeling, and in this video, we're going to look at how you could support your teen by having a supportive conversation with them and hopefully try to get to the bottom of what's causing their anxiety. Before we go into it anymore, I think it's important that you reflect for a moment on how you felt when you were their age and grown-ups tried to talk to you about how you were feeling. And remember how often, despite having good intentions, they often got it so very wrong. So be very wary of judging, belittling, criticizing, or telling your teen this is what you should have done, or you should have said this, or you should have done that, because all of those responses will make them feel inadequate, judged, make them feel like their feelings aren't valid, and they'll close up and they won't talk to you. So before you have the conversation, what you want to do is set time aside that will be completely focused on your young person, on your teen, and no distractions. So make sure your phone is turned off and probably not even in the same room. If you have other children, ask them to, get them busy, make sure they're doing something else so that it's just you and your teen and they have your undivided attention. Then I would suggest sitting side by side, sitting next to your teen, because you're working on this collaboratively. You're supporting them with a project almost. So you're on their side. Sitting face to face, if you're looking at them, that can often be challenging for people who struggle with interpreting and maintaining eye contact, facial expressions, body language. And even if this isn't something your teen struggles with, it still can become across as a bit intimidating, and basically it's just something else to think about, looking at your response to what they've said instead of thinking about what they're saying. So side by side gets rid of all those distractions and allows them to focus inward and really think about how they feel and help them be able to talk about it. So if you are an affectionate family and you are, you're huggy and cuddly, and that's great, then when you're sitting next to your teen, pop your hand on their knees, hold their hand, rub their back, whatever comes naturally. If you are not an affectionate family, then obviously don't freak them out. When you start talking about how they're feeling, it's important to ask open questions, questions that allow time to think and give lots of words in response. You don't want to ask questions that give a yes, no, or one-word answer. So you could phrase questions in a way like this. So, tell me more about your anxiety. Or I wonder what's causing your anxiety. So those kind of phrases leave room for a big explanation. Really, really important when you're talking to your teen is, if you ask them a question, wait for their response. Be comfortable with the silence. Don't try to fill it. Don't answer the question for them, and definitely don't come up with another question because they don't seem to have answered the one that you've just asked. When you ask a question, they need to absorb it. Their brains need to interpret it, process it. Then they need time to think about what is their response, what is their answer to your question. Then they need to put it into words and get it out. And that can, for some people, take a bit longer than it does for others, especially when you're asking people about how they're feeling. So hopefully you've had the conversation, you've asked the questions, you've waited for their answers, and you've got to the bottom of what's causing the anxiety. It may be something practical, which means you could possibly do something about it for them or with them. It might be emotional, so you might need to teach them some breathing techniques, for example. Or perhaps it has to do with the way they look at things. So perhaps they need to consider some different perspectives on a problem. Whatever it is, it's really important that they are in control of the process. So if you want to do anything or say anything after they've told you what's causing their anxiety, you need to ask their permission. If you want to go guns a-blazing and go and shout at people and sort things out at educational establishments or whatever it is, you need to seek their permission first. If you want to give them advice on how to look at things in a different way, ask them, may I give you some suggestions, or would you like to know what I think about that? So allow them to be in control. I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, please do get in touch.